Hi, Josh here, and you're watching 610 Garage. Learn it, build it, teach it. You guys asked for it, so today we're upgrading Eastwood's powder coating gun. And boy, it could use it. Obviously, you're performing these upgrades at your own risk. Don't come crying to me if you break your powder coating gun or get electrocuted.
Here's the gun shooting at 10 psi as stock.
I later on shoot a piece of metal, but I didn't think of this until after I modified the powder coating gun. So yeah.
Nevertheless, we can still tell a lot about what is wrong with the gun. The powder stream comes out fast and heavy. Not only heavy, but not mixed. This is where the outlet is on the gun, but most of the powder is down here. This means that the powder is being pushed out instead of mixing with the air.
We should have an even cloud coming out of the powder coating gun, not a heavy stream. You can dial the air down enough to get a stream coming from the powder coating gun, but the stream is so fine it is practically useless. Which leads us into our first mod.
Drill two 1/8" bleed holes into the air supply tube that goes inside the reservoir. It's the longer tube. I drill these a little low. They should probably go more up here.
This will do two things. First, it will create more vortexes within the reservoir.
Stock, the air blew strictly down. This would create a fairly laminar flow. I'm using the word laminar loosely here. The laminar flow could compact the powder, causing the powder stream to dwindle down until shaken. Adding the two holes creates more disturbance within the reservoir. This could lead to more powder being suspended in air. The two holes would also decrease the pressure at the bottom. So instead of a massive amount of air pounding the powder down, a more gentle stream comes out to lift up the powder.
And the biggest reason of all is it adds more air to the powder coating stream, because there's just way too much powder here.
As we can see from the test, the stream is much less of a jet of powder and more like a cloud streaming from the gun.
Already a big improvement, and we could stop here. This solves the majority of the issues I had with the gun. But why? When we can improve it further. I bought some tips off of eBay that are designed to go into a more professional gun. I think we can make this thing even better. Obviously, make sure the gun is unplugged when you're doing these mods.
First, we pull the cap off the front of the gun.
I don't think it was supposed to come off that easily.
Then we pull out the electrode.
I was trying to straighten it, but just remove it. It's a lot easier.
And now the difficult task of drilling out the front of the powder coating gun with a 5/8" drill bit. The problem here is that the drill bit wants to bog down. Probably the best thing to do is to get a super dull drill bit. Then dull it some more and try to drill it out. What I did was I drilled out a little, then used pliers to remove the plastic. Not recommended.
The great thing about these tips is it contains a thin electrode. One of the problems with the original electrode was it was just too dang large. A thinner electrode sheds electrons much easier. You will also see some continuity issues with the new tip being on. Just ignore it.
We need to make a contact so that the original power supply can connect to the new tip's electrode. First, grab some solid wire. I got some I don't know what gauge Romex and pulled out the ground. Then bend one end into a loop and strip some of the high voltage wire back. Wrap the wire around the new contact. Make sure that the placement of the contact extends a little past the end of the gun. You want a little bit of pressure from the wire pushing the contact against the new tip. Now we solder the contact to the wire, making sure that the contact is properly placed. After removing the excess contact, I install some heat shrink tubing to help strengthen the joint. We now insert the contact into the gun. There is a black ring inserted into these tips. The purpose of this ring is to join the electrode to the contact. This ring, however, is not very conductive whatsoever. I decided to remove mine so that the contact can connect to the electrode directly. The ring is simply pried out.
I did this because Eastwood's powder coating gun is severely lacking in power. But it does make it much harder to install the new tip. You have to make sure that the electrode is fully hitting the contact. And it really says nothing if the tip rotates away from the contact. So it's a choice you have to make. You can leave it risking a loss of power, or you can remove it, risking severe arcing and a decrease in power if the contact is not fully resting on the electrode. Either way, it's time to install the new tip.
I had a lot of issues drilling, so the tip fit rather loosely into the end of the gun. I wrapped some electrical tape around the end of the tip. It now fits snugly into the gun. I inserted the new tip, making sure that the electrode within the tip made good contact on my contact, which sounds weird, but I have no idea how to reword that sentence. I did try to solder the electrode to the contact, but I couldn't do it, at least with this soldering iron. If you have a smaller soldering iron, go for it. All you have to lose is a little melted plastic. I then taped the tip to the gun, making sure to push the tip into the gun. I am also giving a little twist to make sure that the contact and electrode are touching. And we're done. This stream feels to be equivalent to my $1,000 powder coating system.
Which makes sense. I mean, where do you think I got most of my ideas from? And we are using the exact same tip, so there is that.
But was the new tip worth it? I don't know. The new tip felt better, the powder stream looks better, but the powder application looks very similar.
My suggestion is to create the bleed holes first. That was the biggest improvement. If you still have issues or you need as much efficiency with the power supply as possible, then do the tip upgrade. If you were hoping I was going to do a power supply upgrade, sorry to disappoint. I had originally planned on investigating the power supply, but then I cut the wire going to the powder coating gun.
This is a coaxial wire. What that means is there are two conductors. The main conductor makes up the core. Then there is a shield that goes around the core.
Firstly, I don't know what kind of voltage this wire can handle. And considering it goes right by my hand, I don't want to find out. Second, the wire is bleeding off voltage. I would not be surprised if a few thousand volts was lost between the power supply and the tip, which could mean any increase in voltage would increase losses, which may very well lead to no actual voltage increase at the tip.
My powder coating gun uses a high voltage cascade. What this does is it transforms the lower AC voltage entering my gun to a very high DC voltage. Think of it as a magnifying glass for voltage. This means that the voltage leading to the gun is much lower and bleed off is a non-issue.
This makes everything way more efficient. If I were to mess with this powder coating gun, I would do something similar to this. However, it's a bit more involved. I would be throwing away half of the powder coating system, and we would be completely transforming this Eastwood gun into a Frankenstein system. And it would be merely a proof of concept since nobody should really be messing with these types of voltages. However, in my search for powder coating tips, I found what looks to be a nearly complete powder coating gun parts kit. It looks very similar to what I have. If this is everything I think it is, and it's not a scheme, it is on eBay after all, we could make a $600 powder coating system for $150 to $200. I don't want to spend the money right now, but let me know what you would prefer, either to continue modifying the Eastwood gun or to try to build our own from parts. You can do so through the poll in the card on the side or in the comments, or both. I promise nothing, but if I see an interest, I can more justify the cost.